powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
All right, Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, which dropped today. A new one is out this morning. It's brought to you this hour by Prop Swap, where America buys and sells sports bets. Go to PropSwap.com. Download the Prop Swap app today. Day 8 of Eagles training camp. Adam Caplan is here to kind of discuss it all. And, Adam, there is a ton of storylines emerging from Eagles camp. A couple injuries that have factored in here. So we got a lot to dive into, man. How are you?
Good, Mike. I'm out in Los Angeles. I'm going on my West Coast part of my trip that I take all but last year, over the last 17 years I've been out here. So I'll see the Chargers tomorrow morning, Rams in the afternoon, then the Cowboys, who play tonight, by the way. We have the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio, with the Cowboys and Steelers. That's a remake of last year's game where the game got canceled due to COVID. But I'll be with the Cowboys and Rams on Saturday in Oxnard before the Cowboys go back home to break camp. They have two sets of camp. They have it in Oxnard, California, near Los Angeles, and they go back to Dallas. So look forward to seeing those teams. And obviously with the Eagles on Wednesday, as you said, Mike, lots going on with them. It's a team that's fascinating because no one quite knows how good they're going to be, but there's certainly a lot of storylines.
Sure is. And obviously the offensive side of the ball. You have an offensive-minded coach, so everybody's going to kind of focus in on that side of the ball and what new stuff he's doing and how he's approaching it and how this coaching staff is kind of approaching everything here. I think that's been one of the storylines is just the energy and the way the new coaching staff is coaching.
Yeah, so, Mike, when I was able to meet Nick Sirianni a couple years ago, you could just tell being in front of him, there's something different. There's just something different about him. He's got high energy. He's kind of in your face, and he holds his coaches and players accountable. The big thing is obviously the players. We did not see a lot of accountability with the players last season. And then with the coaching staff, they have to be coached too. We'd mentioned on our show actually 3 years ago with Press Taylor that could be a problem under Doug Pederson because he was too close to Carson Wentz, and the media picked up on that 2 years later, and we all kind of knew that it was not going to end well one way or the other. Both are out. The quarterback, Wentz, was traded, and crazily, Press Taylor is with the Colts, but in a different role than the quarterbacks. But the bottom line is when you get back to the Eagles here, there's definitely accountability. We saw it on the field. Jeff Mosher and I and Andrew DeCecco saw Nick Sirianni go after Jalen Reagor. He should. Rager's not had a good camp other than Saturday when I was there. It had not been a good camp for him, and he didn't show up in good enough shape. It's just weird. I don't understand it. We had reported in the spring that he was down in the low 190s, Mike, where he should have been. And then for some reason, he doesn't pass the conditioning test. It's definitely true he didn't. I don't get it. But, right now, the season started today. I don't think he'd be starting. Once Devontae Smith's back on his MCL, which won't be too long, it's a minor injury. MCL sprain. Fulgham and Smith should be the starters opening day unless somehow, again, now we don't know if they're going to be a heavy 11 personnel or heavy 12. We don't know that because Zek is still on the team. But if they're a heavy 12 personnel team, that means Jalen Reagor probably will not be starting.
That'll be interesting, yeah. Now, Reagor, I guess, a little tough love, had a good day today at camp from what we're understanding. But obviously with Devonta Smith out, that means other guys need to kind of jump in. Quez Watkins' name was mentioned the other day by the head coach, and you wonder, Watkins, Hightower, the second rung of receivers, is somebody out of that group kind of sticking out?
Yeah, well, Quez Watkins it's interesting. He didn't seem to be doing well first couple of days of camp. And then I'm going to say Friday or Saturday, he started taking off. The first 2 days were not good for him. I question what kind of shape he came in, but nevertheless, it didn't matter because once he got to the weekend, he started taking off. He really hasn't stopped. He's made a lot of catches. There have not been a lot of deep passes in training camp. I know they hit one or two today, but there have not been, and we'll get into that. There's a big reason for it. But Watkins has sort of kind of revived his career with the Eagles. Had been on thin ice last season. He had not done very well. The spring wasn't anything to write home about, and now all of a sudden, he's kind of emerged here. And quite frankly, Mike, the number 5 job is completely wide open. The first 4 jobs are set, obviously. But the 5 job's completely wide open between Quez Watkins, John Hightower, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and Michael Walker, unfortunately, who's missed a lot of time here lately. He got off to a good start. He's the kid that not a lot of people know about who was with the Jaguars previously. But that job's wide open, and I think through the end of training camp and the preseason, we'll know more.
Yesterday, Fulgham talked about why he wasn't playing last year. I think we all knew it, but he said it. Alshon came back, and they told me that, that was his role there. Now, somebody
Which was a mistake. By the way, that was a mistake. The former coaching staff blew that one.
Okay, that's what I wanted to, because somebody asked me, do I think Pederson was loyal to Alshon and played him, or that he was told by Roseman to play him because of the salary? I said, I got to imagine Pederson played him. Roseman would say, hey, I found this kid Fulgham. I want you to use him, right?
Well, Mike, but there's 2 ways to look at it. You just said it. It's Jeffrey's his salary, which was enormous, or playing the guy who was clearly better than Fulgham, who had a future with the team. The thing that bothered Jeff Mosher and I on our show is that Alshon Jeffrey had no future past the season. We knew he was not coming back. So why not play Fulgham? And then Fulgham, as we first reported back in, the spring, that Fulgham wound up having ankle surgery. Now, we have no idea. I don't know if he talked about it, whether the ankle bothered him, because he really was not on the injury report for it. It might have been a cleanup, who knows. But Fulgham gives them something they just don't have. Size on the outside, an explosion. He is that at 6'2.5". I mean, he clearly is that guy. And he's had a good, very quiet but very steady training camp so far.
Which is something Shane Steichen brought up, is this big-bodied guy. We don't really have that guy. So very intrigued by how the Fulgham thing kind of plays out here and where he kind of fits in with this offense. And then you got the running back situation because, we've heard a lot of good things about guys like Jordan Howard. Kerryon Johnson, I think, has said a lot of interesting stuff. But Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, those 2 guys seem to be getting most of the reps.
Yeah, well, it's actually Jordan Howard's the 2, Scott would be the 3, but what you got to understand is that it doesn't mean, it depends on what the situation is. Normal down and distance, Sanders is the 1, Jordan Howard's the 2. If they need a change up, if they're behind, the hurry up back could be Sanders and Scott. Scott also is competing for the kickoff return job. Scott, if they're looking for a change up in game, that would be Scott over Howard. It just depends on what the game plan is that week. But on normal situations, let's say this is what we talked about last year. The Eagles did not have an answer last year. If Sanders couldn't play, they didn't have that. Boston Scott completely failed as the fill-in. They need to know if Miles Sanders gets hurt, what is their recourse? Well, Jordan Howard would be the main guy with Scott and Gainwell backing him up. That's how you NFL coaches, not the fans, look at it differently. The people who actually know what's going on look at it and understand what Jordan Howard brings to the table the other backs do not bring. That size and that ability, especially if they get a lead. He could be the guy, not that Sanders can have some of those carries, but Jordan Howard's the guy that they would turn to, not Scott or Gainwell if they had a big lead.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people are very interested to see how he's going to use those running backs. Miles Sanders, one of them. And then, of course, on offense, let's stick on that side of the ball. Is it a battle at left tackle anymore, Adam?
I mean, I called it. It's funny. We've probably talked about 40 players. We obviously we don't have 5 hours to do this little segment here, but we probably talked about 40 to 50 players on the show that dropped this morning. But one of the things that I declared, the Eagles are not settling yet, but I did for them. I said, listen, it's going to be Jordan Milada. It's over. The only issue for Milada is we reported he needed to lose a lot of weight, and he did. We're told he lost 25 pounds. He's somewhere in the 370s, right? 375, 380, which means he clearly was close to 400 if you just do the math. Don't know exactly what it was, but even if he was in the 390s, he's looking great, okay? He's been dominant. Like if you and I ranked, Mike, our top 5 players in training camp, if you rank Milada number 1, I would not argue with you. That's how great he's been. And if you just understand where he's come from, I was at his first training camp practice in 2018. I was at his first OTA practice in 2018. I mean, it was just kind of funny because he didn't know what he was doing because he had never played football before, American football, that is. And to see what he's been able to do over these 3 years, we're actually almost 4, is a testament to him and obviously Jeff Stoutland. And Roseman actually, as who explained to me, Roseman sent Stoutland. He had a pro day, and not a lot of teams showed up, believe it or not. And this one is going to, if he winds up starting, becoming a good football player, Mike, this will be one of the all-time stories in Eagles draft history. I mean, there's really nothing like this ever I've seen. I mean, a guy who's never played football in his life is going to be not only going to win the starting left tackle job. If you understand the athleticism that he has, he's just freakish. It's really remarkable.
It's crazy. Now, I guess the flip-off question to that would be, what happens next with Dillard? I mean, is he just a backup left tackle because he doesn't have versatility? Is he somebody that Roseman gets on the phone for? Where do you see his future, a former first-round pick?
Well, we got to wait till training camp's over in the preseason. But once we get to August 31st, which is the cut down to the 50, what I call the initial 53, there's never a final 53. I think that's something that fans and the media don't understand. There's no such thing. It's the fluid 53. It keeps changing, but it's the initial 53, as I'm calling it. He would have value because he's a former first-round pick. It's funny that you mentioned this. I'm going to talk more about this on Monday's show, but I did talk to an NFL general manager this week about it. This team's left tackle situation is not good. This other team I'm talking about. And this guy had mentioned the shorter arms, love the feet, but he said is he physically strong enough? And that he goes, look, this guy said he'll look into it by the 31st. If Milada wins it which is pretty much a lock. There aren't a lot of locks of the football team. That's one of them. But look, it's hard to find left tackles. That's why he would have value if the Eagles would wind up entertaining a trade. Then if they would wind up trading him, the Raven Clark, if he's available in the season, would be the backup left tackle. They would have that opportunity.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Adam Caplan with us, Football at 4. Let's go to defense now. Jonathan Gannon, his crew here. And Mo said yesterday, Jayvon Hargreave looks great. I'm interested to hear a little bit more because it was right at the end, because I asked him, give me a player I haven't discussed with you, Moshe, and he said Hargreave. So do you concur, and are you hearing the same?
Yeah, in fact, I brought it up on our show this morning. We were talking about players we haven't talked a lot about, and I said, I don't know how we didn't do this, but we got to talk about Jayvon Hargreave being one of the top players in camp. And Jeff talked about it. I talked about it. Because, as you go through a 90-man roster, though it's, I think, 89, they cut Shaquille Taylor today. They waived him. He was only there because he knew the defense. But I think when you look at Hargreave, let's not forget, Jeff reported last summer that Hargreave had a pectoral strain, which he got when he was working out, lifting weights. And he had no training camp, really. And he started coming on the second half of the season, but he was not the player that they had signed yet. He had not got quite to it, but he is now. He's been incredible, Mike. He looks like he's got a chance to be a breakout player for the Eagles, and boy, they would need it. And remember, this defensive scheme is completely different. The Eagles we've never seen a scheme like this in Philly. You guys are going to love this, trust me.
I'm interested in that. I'm also interested in Josh Sweat, Derek Barnett coexisting. Yeah. One guy gets more time than the other, splitting time. What's the feel at the defensive end spot opposite Brandon Graham? Yeah,
this is a fascinating one. The first couple of days of camp, it was a battle, but Barnett was falling behind. And then, boy, after that, he's been really good. So there's no way to call it. Only the coaches and front office would know. But I'm still going to go with Sweat will get more snaps than Barnett this season. I'm not saying whoever starts means who's in for the first play. That's not really what I mean. I mean who gets snaps per game. Sweat's just a better football player. He could do more. He's longer physically. We talked about this last year about the Clowney comparison. What I'd said, there absolutely is some. In fact, you could make a case that he's a better pass rusher, but there's certain things that Clowney could do that Sweat couldn't do when Clowney was healthier in his career. But here's the problem with Clowney. He hadn't been healthy in years. Now he's healthy. I was just with the Browns. He was practicing, but at 28, I don't know what he is as a football player. Josh Sweat's a better football player than Clowney right now. There's no question about that.
Yeah, Clowney really hasn't been a relevant player in quite some time, other than the fact that he knocked out Wentz, and that's about the only thing that people recognize him from over the last couple of years. And then I guess, they brought Steven Nelson in. Everybody was waiting for them to do that, and that has kind of taken some of the pressure off Zek Mcpherson, the rookie, and he appears to be shining out there.
Yeah, this is one of the better stories of camp on either side of the football. McPherson was a guy who could play inside or outside. He's playing outside here, and he's been a story of camp. Now, I know he's taken reps with the 2s and 3s, more with the 2s lately. And also, I'm pretty certain he got reps in back of Nelson at some point during camp. I have no idea how many reps, but nevertheless, here's the good thing about this. If he winds up finishing training camp really well in the preseason, he'll be the top outside corner over Craig James. And that's great because Nelson's on a 1-year deal. Now, James has had a steady camp. He can play inside or outside. He also knows the defense from being with Minnesota. So they might have a group of 4 corners that could play on the outside. Now, is it great? No, but it's at least average opposite Slay and maybe potentially better than average. Steven Nelson has had a solid camp. The issue with Steven Nelson is if he doesn't get his hands on you, it's going to be a problem because he doesn't run very well. His recovery speed isn't great, but he's so aggressive, smart, and tough. Not a lot of guys are getting behind him, but that's just one thing to look into. When teams spread him out and they get Nelson 1-on-1 and that receiver could run on his side, that's where things could be interesting. Maybe the Eagles would have to double up that receiver.
Right, and then obviously Jonathan Gannon, as you kind of mentioned, this scheme is going to be something that we haven't seen, and I'm wondering how he's going to utilize the linebackers, Alex Singleton, Eric Wilson, and Davion Taylor. That story's kind of upsetting. The fact that he looked like he was going to be one of those surprise guys, and now he's hurt.
Yeah, he might have been. Yeah, we don't know. Like, he came out. I know what we had heard is his coaching staff kind of liked him from his Colorado tape because he barely played last season. So we'll have to see when he gets over that quadriceps injury. But when we look at the defense, here's what it is. We'd put out on a show back in February, we were hearing that this defense would have a ton of pre-snap and post-snap disguise. I might have underrated that or under-discussed that. It is unbelievable. I mean, I've not seen anything like this. I mean, Schwartz just didn't believe in it for whatever reason. But I'll tell you what, one of the reasons why Hurts's completion percentage is so high, it's because he's checking a lot of stuff down. He's not turning it over, which is great. He's not running a lot, which is very good. Hurts has done some nice things. We haven't really talked about him a lot. But the reason why there's not been a lot of downfield throwing is because they're taking it away. They're making him hold on to the football. Flacco, too, has got an enormous arm, we know. Way better in terms of arm strength than Hurts. But they're not completing the kind of percentages you would think because they're doing so much pre-snap and post-snap that the quarterbacks are having to hold on to the football too long. And by the way, though they're not playing the wide 9 anymore, that will help the defensive line get to the quarterback because they're making a hold on it a little bit longer.
Looking forward to Thursday night. We'll see how Jonathan Gannon's defense looks. We'll see how Nick Sirianni plays. And Sirianni, did you see the video of him at the wedding, busting in on that wedding?
Yeah, awesome.
Man.
He's a pretty cool guy. I've talked to the guy twice. This was back at Colts camp in 18-19. And he kind of, what coaches tell me of work with him, he is what he looks like he is. He's in your face, nonstop energy. I mean, it was kind of surprising him going after Rager. I mean, it's been reported a lot. I know people have talked about it, but me seeing it up close, I was not expecting it. And he went after him. And you know what? Rager needs hard coaching. That is called hard coaching, by the way.
Yeah.
That is exactly what Jalen Rager needs.
I guess we'll leave with Deshaun Watson and whether or not there's any credence to this. We just keep hearing it. It doesn't seem to be going away, but is there any reason to think there's anything new or different here?
No, the online rumor, whatever that was, nothing new. No, we're not. In fact, we decided not to discuss it on Inside the Birds. We won't be discussing it Sunday or Monday morning, and we're doing a live stream by tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, and we'll probably make fun of it. No, I'm just joking. We'll laugh a little bit. We've said consistently since mid March, less than a week before Wentz was traded, about a week after Wentz was traded. We'd heard consistently that the Eagles have been on Deshaun Watson. They're interested in him. And that's it. Nothing has changed.
All right. 8 days in of practices. Remember, they reported on Tuesday. They did not practice on Tuesday. So it has been 8 training camp practices for the Eagles. And they will be live a week from tonight, Adam Caplan, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see how Nick Sirianni plays that. Do you think we'll see Jalen Hurts in that game?
He should. I mean, they only have 3 preseason games. I don't know why you wouldn't, because he's not an established player. If he had been a guy that looked like he was ready to be the guy, like lights out, having a great camp, I'd say no. He needs work. So does Joe Flacco, by the way. They only have 3 quarterbacks. Now, Nick Mullins is coming off of procedure after last season, and that's why he's everything from him is short. Doesn't throw the ball downfield. But I would. But I'll tell you what, I like what I've seen from Hurts when I've been there. This is, what we said on Inside the Birds before you get out of here, Mike, is that this is his his 4th offense in like 5 years. Remember, last year's offense is different from this year's offense, different from Oklahoma's offense, different from Alabama's offense. So we need to understand that it's going to take some time to develop.
All right. Adam Caplan, Jeff Mosher, Andrew DeCecco, Inside the Birds. Check out all of the stuff at InsideTheBirds.com. The new Inside the Birds podcast dropped this morning. Inside the Birds, ITB, live tonight on the YouTube channel, and everything the guys got going. And, of course, right here on Football at 4. He's Adam Caplan. Thank you, pal.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, Adam Caplan here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN.